Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to this special edition of Newsroom. I'm your host Khalid. But today our topic of discussion is going to be the press conference of the ISPR, Lieutenant General Ahmed Sharif Chaudhry. He gave this briefing this afternoon and of course addressed very important issues, whether it be the intelligence-based operations in Balochistan and in Tira. He particularly referenced these two, whether it be the region in Balochistan, what are the people being fed from different sources, what is the role of the government, the army, the armed forces, and many different issues. And he also talked about of course the court-martial of a former head of the ISI. That and more will be discussed during the course of this very show. So without further ado, let's begin this very important Newsroom's episode. We have with us in the studio Agha, Iqrar, Haroon, a senior analyst who joins us after a small hiatus, let's put it that way. Agha, Iqrar, Haroon, thank you very much to have joined us in the studios. We'll also be joined online by two other guests. We'll be introducing them as and when they come online. Let's begin with you, Agha, Iqrar, Haroon Sahab. The dgispr, I was listening to his press brief because I knew that we were going to cover it today. He starts with the intelligence-based operations that are happening in the country, but he references two particular, because these have happened recently, what happened in Tira on the 20th of August and what happened between the 25th and the 26th of August in different areas of Balochistan. He says in the first 8 months rather of 2024, there have been 32,173 intelligence-based operations, in which 4,021 of those intelligence-based operations have been just in the month of August. 90 khawarij have been sent to hell in these operations. There are more than 130 intelligence-based operations that happen every single day by all the agencies. In the last 8 months, 193 officers have attained martyrdom, and he said we will continue such operations until the last khawarij is eliminated. He also talked about the Tira IBOs, in which 37 khawarij were sent to hell, 14 injured, 4 soldiers shaheed, whereas in the Balochistan clearance operations that happened between the 25th and the 26th of August, he mentions 21 terrorists killed, 14 LEAs were attained martyrdom. How effective are these intelligence-based operations? How effective have they been? How effective do they continue to be this year?
Thank you so much. Honestly, I am speaking, I feel for the last at least 2 months, the mitigation of terrorists is strongly in favor of now our forces. After July, we are gaining, for example, Tira Valley. According to my understanding, we have already won this battle in Tira Valley. Tira Valley had been a target of terrorists, kharijis, since 2006. There was a very huge operation over there, and I happened to be there to cover that. Then it was again Tira Valley in 2013, if you remember.
Yes.
So Tira Valley is, you can say, is our soft belly. Once you have a stronghold in Tira Valley, then entire Swat is under your power. So Tira Valley is very critical, very important, and very successfully we are eliminating kharijis over there, and these intelligence-based operations, 130 per day. You calculate 130 to 20 divided by 24 hours, so you can find out how many intelligence-based operations are going to be held in 1 hour only. So this is a huge investment, psychological investment, physical investment of forces, and he has also, very clearly mentioned the police is there, the intelligence forces are there, the law enforcement agencies are there. So it's a collective move.
Yes.
Even these operations are being supported by the locals. So intelligence-based operation is not possible if locals are not, you can say, sharing information with you or supporting you. So locals, as we had been successful in 2004 after 2014, the local, the intelligence agencies, the police and law enforcement agency and the Pakistan Army, all together in a collective move, they are cleaning these areas from kharijis. But unfortunately, Omar, we lost, and we gave more than 80,000 martyrdom to gain this land. I mean, not only Tira Valley, the entire Pakistan.
Of course.
But unfortunately, the PTI government took a very stupid decision, and then we are facing the music again. But I am very confident. Pakistan forces, with the support of the nations, as he mentioned, we are against very strongly winning this war. After July and August, no balance is in our favor.
And will continue to be, inshallah, in our favor. The DGISPR, because the whole show is around what he said, the DGISPR has referred to terror incidents in Balochistan. I'll come to you, but I would like to ask this question to my next guest who has joined us online, Dr. Maria Sultan, defense analyst. Maria, thank you very much to have joined us. Maria, you must have heard the DGISPR's press conference this afternoon. I'd like to refer to what he talked about when he mentioned the terror incidents in Balochistan. He discusses the external funding for these incidents. He said those behind have no relation to Islam and no relation to Baloch traditions as well. He also gave a clear message to them that the nation will deal with them and take them to task. He said no Pakistani blood will go to waste. How important are these statements?
I think they're considerably very important and significant because they clarify two accounts. One, that Pakistan is determined to succeed in this war against terror. One, and secondly, we also understand where the funding is coming, what is happening, and who are the actors and facilitators behind it. And last but not least, no act of terrorism can actually occur in a country without financial support and without political support and without safe havens. And unfortunately, these safe havens are not just in Pakistan, but are actually stationed outside of Pakistan from Afghanistan. So there's a global responsibility and also responsibility of the Afghan interim government to respond affirmatively on it. Because if they are in a position and they are still not carrying out action against those actors which are contributing to regional terrorism, then they should be and they will be held accountable.
All right. Maria, I'd also like to understand, he has pointed out that the people in Balochistan are being exploited by external sources. Now, he did not mention them, but of course it was for us to understand and comprehend all of that. What are the intentions of these quote-unquote external sources?
You see, whenever there is a disparity in terms of resource adjustment and people's expectations and also the rate of development, there are gaps. And these gaps are then exploited by elements which want to become elements of chaos and elements of disruption. And this is what we are witnessing in Balochistan, where the people are becoming hostage to regional terror groups, which not only want to exploit the vulnerabilities over there, but also to project that they're doing it in the name of Balochistan. Unfortunately, they're not doing it in the name of Balochistan. Unfortunately, they're not doing it in the name of the development of the province or for mitigating the concerns of the people there. They're doing it to further their terrorist, nefarious designs. And henceforth, it's extremely important for us to differentiate between them and also to understand that no terror activity is actually possible without financial support, which in this case is coming from our neighbors, in this case which is coming from international actors.
Dr. Maria, the DGISPR also discussed Pakistan's fight against terrorism. He mentioned the National Action Plan, the revised National Action Plan and Azm-e-Istehkam. How critical or crucial have these two previous plans been, and the latest one continues to be as far as Pakistan's stability is concerned?
When we talk about Azm-e-Istehkam, we need to understand this is Pakistan's resolve for stability, and that is what it actually translates into. And this is only going to be possible if we, expand the remit of our counterterrorism operations or understanding and respond affirmatively on that account. Henceforth, it's extremely important that we carry out the necessary actions which are required to take out the facilitators, the abettors, and most importantly, the people who are harassing and terrorizing the people. Because if legal action is not taken against them and they are not held accountable, then you create a situation and a perpetual state of fear. And that is not how states operate. The states operate and act in the interest of the people. And the interest of the people is that the law and order is maintained. The interest of the people is that they're safe and secure. And the interest of the people is that they are not held hostage by these terror designs. And for this, the state has given, unequivocal, support to all those forces which are standing for peace. And that's one. And number two, that they will take all corrective action to fix this. And today's press conference is indicative of the fact that we will do the necessary actions and carry out these actions no matter what.
Arya, please stay online with us. We'll revert to Agha's rules and then we'll come back to you. Agha Iqrar, Haroon, the dgispr has said the Pak army has remained committed to self-accountability, which is based on proof. Now, he referred to the 12th August case of Lieutenant General Faiz Hamid's court-martial in the Top City case. He said the following: the case was sent via the Ministry of Defence to the army. A court of inquiry has been established. Concrete proof was found of a violation of the Pakistan Army Act. A field general court-martial has begun. If in army someone works for his personal or political gain, then self-accountability comes in action. We look at it seriously and act without taking any sides. The right to appeal is there, nevertheless. He also said that the person in question went for personal gains on instigation of political forces and went beyond his professional capacity. He said it is a sub judice matter, so he didn't want to talk more about it. He said necessary details will be shared later. Replying to a question regarding the head of a certain political party, the dgispr said any person who violates the Army Act will be prosecuted, quote unquote. Whosoever is court-martial has the right for a fair trial, of course, as I said, show proof, appeal, and of course cannot give time frame on how long this process will take, because people were also asking how long this court-martial is going to take. He said, understanding that this case is sub judice, and I want your answer to be understanding that this case is sub judice, do you view this process of self-accountability taking into account the ongoing field court-martial? How do you see this whole process of self-accountability under the army?
Omar, first of all, other institutions should learn from Pakistan Army, because this accountability process is always very, very important, very, very strict within the Pakistan Army. Usually they don't share with you and me. But when whenever there is a very important information to be shared, they do. Since subject is sub judice, if I would love to talk when this subject was not sub judice.
But now I've just I've also mentioned the points that he has said.
I'm just joking. I'm just joking. My dear, whosoever is involved in any, you can say, misdeed or flouting of law of Pakistan Army disciplinary action, whosoever is involved with any person of the Pakistan Army will be dealt with the same law. So this is the fate you was talking about.
All right, but of course, all the points that he has mentioned as far as the self-accountability process in the army is concerned.
Now other institutions should also come forward, Omar. I mean, there are, I'm giving you an example. If you claim my master degree of political science is fake, I should show my degree. Look, Omar, this is my degree. Go to government college and you check it.
True.
Instead of giving a detail of my degree, if I am saying, okay, Omar, if you will talk about this again, I will sue you. So what does that mean? I don't want any accountability, and I am shy to answer your question. And there must be something wrong with my degree.
If you are transparent,
so exactly, if I am transparent, so this I am giving just an example.
All right.
So all other people, not only the institution, you, me, and everybody. We should come forward with accountability. Why should we not?
Of course, because we have nothing to
Exactly.
hide, don't we? All right, Maria, the dgispr has mentioned 4 phases under which the defence forces work as far as the National Action Plan is concerned, and also as Mr. which includes clear, hold, build and transfer. He said that the clear and hold phases have ended, saying that 46,000 square kilometers area has been cleared in the last decades, and that there is no presence of any no-go area now in Pakistan. What encompasses these 4 phases, that is clear, hold, build and transfer?
You see, clear means definitely that you ensure that there are no strongholds of terrorists and there are no strongholds which are based of groups which are going to resist state and its structures. So that is, where most of the kinetic element happens. Second is the hold element. That is where you station your troops and ensure that there are no attacks which are ensuing, and if they are, you're protecting the population and you're ensuring that those areas do not become another safe haven. And third is that once you've done this for a prolonged period of time, then a time comes when you have to transfer all this authority and all this political space to local actors. It needs to transfer to law enforcement agencies and to the state and its structures. Therefore, it's extremely important that if there are no state structures, those state structures should expand. It should also depend that those things are addressed in a meaningful manner. And number two, that people state harmony is restored. So that is the build structure. That means if there have been any operations which have led to destruction of property, displacement of people, you are able to reverse that order. And then last but not least is transfer. And transfer means ultimately transferring the authority back to the people so that they become stakeholders in their peace. They become the originators of peace and stability in the region. And that is exactly what Pakistan armed forces believe and stand for. And that is how most of our counterterrorism operations have been conducted.
All right. I'd like to understand a little bit more on these 4 phases, because the dgispr mentions that the government, he talks about the government reliance on army operations. He adds that the army had been made to clear certain areas again and again. He says the build and transfer phases have not been implemented. He's also said that prolonged army requirement had its own issues in areas leading to poison that was being spread against the army. What is the responsibility of the government and other stakeholders and political forces in Pakistan as far as the implementation of the build and transfer phases is concerned?
I think what we need to understand is this, that whenever you have a problem where there are governance gaps, there are always non-traditional leadership emergence. That rises in the form of criminal groups, that rises in the form of local leadership, and also sometimes in the form of terrorism. And this is what Pakistan had witnessed. So if there was a place in which state structure response was not given for effective law and order, or was not given for effective dispensation of justice, you see that gap emerging. And then last but not least, also the basic services which people require. That means for transportation, business, and also for effective readdressal of their primary needs. Now, this is where the state has to move in. And this state doesn't mean just stationing people. It also means the mandate, the resources, the access to education, the access to freedom of movement, the access to law and order, and last but not least, through a structural mechanism. So it's not based on favoritism, it's not based on people's likes and dislikes, but it has, that element put in place. That can only happen if the parliament is effective. That can only happen after the 18th Amendment. The necessary action is taken, resources allocated, and then dispersed. And then it brings the people as stakeholders. The problem is that once you have only military force present over there, of course, the military force is a kill force. So this means that they will go for kinetic operations. The people who are stationed there are not familiar with the local sensitivities or would be positioned with long-term, war fatigue. Henceforth, they are not the optimal force for policing. They're not the optimal force for carrying out the necessary understanding because they may be on rotation. Henceforth, you do require national state structures. You do require people who understand state building requirements and then are the local interlocutors, and that you are able to create these frameworks. What has happened in Pakistan is that, unfortunately, because of terrorism, we have had loss of local leadership, which the terrorists targeted, both in the forms of tribal leaders being affected, both in the forms of local leaders being affected, whether they were teachers, whether they were doctors, whether they were, political leaders, or whether they were just tribal leaders. The terrorists and these terror structures basically tried to eliminate them, and they succeeded in a lot of cases. And the end result was that you have a gap. Now, this gap has to be filled. This has to be filled by basic democracy. This has to be filled by new representatives. This has to come from people who they will believe are honest interlocutors for them and for bringing their challenges to the state, and then vice versa, getting the state resources for their development. Now, this has to be done by the political government. This has to be done by the provincial government. This has to be done by the federal government. And it can only be done if the necessary laws, action, and mandate has been done. Because once you do this, then you're able to transfer the authority from military power to civil power, and from civil power to actual local power, and last but not least, to people's power.
Wonderful. Last question to you, Maria. You did mention Afghanistan earlier during our discussion. Now, the dgispr has also said that August 2021 onwards, the backers of terrorists have intensified or enablers of terrorists have intensified their operations with camps, logistics support. He talked about the US arms that have been left in Afghanistan. What is the responsibility, in your point of view, of the Afghan interim government in this regard?
It's huge. Because, you see, you cannot just say that. It means two things. Either they don't have the capacity or they don't have the will. There is no third option. because the third option basically means that they are actually not in control. And if they're not in control, then it means that it's a global international safe haven for terrorism. And if it is such a case, then it means that today it is Pakistan, tomorrow it is going to be Iran, third day it's going to be China, fourth is Russia, and fifth is going to be Europe, and then consequently the flow will follow back to the United States. So, of course, there is an international responsibility. If you leave unaccounted weapons, you leave unaccounted things, then it does create this problem and national challenge, not just for the Afghan government, but also for the region and for also global security interlocutors. And the global security interlocutors need to seriously review what is the Afghanistan they have left, what are the terms and conditions, and what was the global responsibility after the UN Security Council Resolution 1373 and 1267. If they have, and after the Doha process, if the Doha process has failed, then there has to be some accountability of the United States as well as the interim Afghan government, which is responsible for keeping the Afghan territory safe of terrorism. If they're failing in that and people are dying, then it is a challenge.
I understand. Thank you so very much, Dr. Maria Sultan, to have joined us and to have discussed the DGISPR press briefing and, of course, certain aspects of it. Thank you very much to have joined us. Coming back to you, Agha Iqrar, the DGISPR says that the Pakistan Army is a national army with no political agenda, adding that the army neither supports nor are they against any political party. How important is this statement in the light of all the propaganda that is surfacing on social media and elsewhere?
If you allow me, I would like to just mention 2 points only when you was talking about the build and transfer issue.
Yes.
I think the DGISPR somehow or other back in his mind was referring to the Tira Valley. Okay. You know, Tira Valley we started to clearing in 2006 and then 2013, and it was clearly, cleared. But the ownership was not taken by the provincial government. There was no development, like build and transfer to the local government. There was no build, meaning by reconstruction work was not done over there. So it was not handed over to the local government because local structure was not there. Unfortunately, PTI had been there in the power since 2013. So after 2014, successful Zarb-e-Azb, 80% areas was in KP. KP or erstwhile FATA, which was merged into KP. So basically the most you can say the responsibility lies and who is victim over there is the people and who is the aggressor is the provincial government. And now I've come to the point of this political agenda.
This is a very important point that he has made, I feel.
Thank you so much. Explaining it also. Look, there was a question also related with this particular.
Yes, that is why I'm highlighting it.
Omar, Pakistan Army is basically has very categorically informed everybody we have nothing to do with the politics. But we are here to support the bona fide legitimate governments if ever we are needed. But we are not in political issues. Referring to this court-martial, if a person, for gaining his personal interest, he involved himself in the political activity for a particular party.
Remember, the matter is sub judice.
I know. No, I'm coming to the point. So, a particular party, so what the message was sent to normal common man. Some people thought, an institution was behind that, but institution was not behind that. It was an individual. Although he was in a uniform, but he was an individual. So this is a political, again categorically, DGISP said, Pakistan Army as an institution has no political agenda. And this point had been categorically clarified by Pakistan Army for the last almost 5 years.
And the other part of the statement is also very important, that it neither supports nor it is against any political.
No, they have no political agenda. That is it. If I have a political agenda, I can be in favor of you or against you. But if I don't have any political agenda, so there's no question lies for favoring or against. So this is very important. But this is a very important point that has been used against Pakistan Army for the propaganda campaigns.
True.
So it had been used in past also. When a man was in uniform and he was allegedly supporting a political party, No, again, this political party is, throwing the allegation against Pakistan Army now. Actually, Pakistan Army has nothing to do with everything, which is even the world has the politics.
All right, I think there was an important statement that I think needed to be made under the current situation and all that people were hearing and reading. We've also been now joined by Brigadier retired Nadir. He's a senior analyst. Brigadier Saab, thank you very much to have joined us. Long time coming. Let's go straight to the question. The DGISPR reiterates that Pakistan had always aided Afghanistan and had helped it on various occasions. He says Afghanistan should not give preference to the khawarij. He has said Pakistan and Afghanistan are in contact and do maintain good relations in many spheres. He said those trying to create misunderstandings between our two countries should understand that. Has the message gotten across to the elements who are trying to create a rift and misunderstanding between Pakistan and Afghanistan?
The DGISPR was quite candid and succinct in explaining this various aspects, including the question that you have raised. As far as Pakistan and Afghanistan are concerned, it is history and it is public knowledge that Pakistan has always supported, beyond its means, in all its forms, Afghanistan. And I don't have to repeat because of paucity of time, because also it's known to everybody. So I'll sum it up in one sentence. Pakistan is always with the people of Afghanistan and the Kabul regime to support them in all contexts. Having said that, the recent surge of terrorism emanating from Afghanistan, whether it is in KPK or whether it is in Balochistan, whether it is one terrorist group or another outfit or whatever the name or whatever the agenda, whether they're using some sectarian, religious or ethnic or whatever projection they are doing, regardless of that, the fact is that Afghan soil resources are being used against Pakistan. And even as good neighbors and brotherly neighbors and historically, affinity and all that, this was not to be acceptable to either Pakistan. But in this event, Pakistan was the main country which helped the Afghans in the Soviet period, in the American period, occupation period, and eventually the Taliban who have come into power in Kabul today, they owe a lot, and the Afghan people owe a lot to Pakistan. So Pakistan is not demanding anything. The only thing Pakistan is trying to explain to them is that this cannot go on. And I've said it in your programs that I've written, and I've said it in so many other forums, because attacks, if they continue, they have to be answered. And Pakistan has the capability of answering them in the totality of the subject, the full spectrum. I'm not only talking of kinetic or, striking back into Afghanistan. I'm also talking of other ways, because then at the end of the day, what will happen if this continues? The Kabul regime or the establishment of Kabul today, they will be labeled as a terrorist organization, hosting, supporting, sponsoring, and not only by the neighboring states, but UN, Security Council, and so many other places, and so much more. Whereas they're seeking recognition, they're seeking economic progress, they're seeking stability in Afghanistan. So we want this stability in Afghanistan, and that is not possible until this terrorist sponsoring on that side, on the other side of the Afghan border, finishes. Having said that, your question, has the message gone across? Well, it's our job to make sure that the message is understood, because this Pakistani strategic restraint or Pakistan's not striking back, and I again repeat, in many forms, from social, economic, military, political, diplomatic, and all the other ways Pakistan, and regional and geopolitical and global aspects that Pakistan can gather together against Afghanistan.
Brigadier, what I'm trying to also say is what the DGISPR stated. There are elements that are trying to create further rifts and misunderstandings between Afghanistan and Pakistan, and this is what he has also cleared, that this will not be tolerated, and Pakistan has been siding with and helping Afghanistan in many spheres, and it continues to do so even in the current situation. Don't you feel the message to those elements, quote unquote, or betters or enablers of creating rifts between Pakistan and Afghanistan have received the message loud and clear?
They should be very clear that Pakistan is going to take all steps, and I keep repeating, on both sides of the border. That is obviously in Pakistan, but it can take steps across also, because you can't allow someone to come and attack you and then just cross the line, the border, and say, okay, he's having a safe refuge. It doesn't work out like that. So Pakistan that's what I'm saying. If they have not understood, then they're going to come to grief, these people, whoever they are. And it's not only them, but they're larger sponsors. And we're talking geopolitics. There are state actors, and then there are non-state actors, and there are state actors. The part of the Kabul regime, as you know, part of them are friendly to Pakistan, but there are part inimical. There are elements in Pakistan also who are doing a lot of propaganda against Pakistan and all on this score. And of course, there is Delhi and India, which is full-time trying to create a second front for Pakistan. So Pakistan has given a clear message, and the reason is that overall national policy is of seeking peace. Pakistan seeks peace both with India and Afghanistan and the others also. And this is a part of that peace seeking that Pakistan is making it clear to, and as you said, making its message clear. And if people don't understand this message, then Pakistan has numerous options to implement to make sure that Pakistan is defended and remains safe.
I agree with you on that. When you talk of national policy, Brigadier Saab, the DGISPR talks about the Azm-e-Istehkam. He says it is a revised version of the National Action Plan. I quote again what he said. Azm-e-Istehkam is a revised version of the National Action Plan. He also says that other stakeholders, that is the non-kinetic partners, should also now take the lead. He talks about criminal justice system that needs to be enforced. He talks about the terror crime nexus that should be broken. He talks about the country that should be on one page against all such elements and should have a single agenda and point of view. My question to you is, what is the responsibility of the non-kinetic partners? How should the criminal justice system be properly enforced, and how should the terror crime nexus be broken?
Actually, the major share of an anti-terror campaign or all this that the DG has very aptly said, the GISPR has aptly said, is with the non-kinetic partners. In terms of terrorism, it is not the conventional armies which do that. In our Pakistan case, it's the armed forces which have been doing it for one reason, that the other elements have not done their part or haven't done it as they should have. So now the time has come that while the armed forces are fully supportive and implementing their part of the task, that the others, especially the criminal justice system, because many of them are criminals and all those committing are criminals anyway, I mean legally. So, and besides that, the provincial forces and aspects and the border itself. So, as a whole, we need a whole of the nation approach, and people have to be goaded, and people have to be held responsible who are not doing the job. And of course, those who are doing the job should be promoted, or they should be patronized, or they should be recognized, or they should be given medals. Similarly, it runs both ways. That the nation is serious, is about defeating this terrorist scourge in totality, once for all.
All right. Brigadier Saab, stay online with us. We have to go to our guest who's patiently waiting for us in the studios. The DGISPR talks about the practice and culture in the army. He says it is to help the public and points towards the SIFC, for example. He said that was directed towards helping to alleviate the economic situation in the country. He mentions the counter-terrorism operations that have led to peace, stability and security, leading to economic prosperity. He said all our actions have a crucial role to improve the state of Pakistan's people and Pakistan's economy. What's your take on that?
First of all, let me add very important point which is usually not promoted in Pakistan. Whenever there is a flood or God forbid be any earthquake, you have seen there are camps and people are being fed. This ration usually doesn't come for the provincial governments or for any authorities. These are basically most, I have seen myself as a reporter, I covered Dera Ghazi Khan, that is why I am sharing with you. The Jawans who had their own ration, they were sharing their food with people who were they recovered from river. So this is a factor which is a part and parcel of the training of Pakistan Army to help a common man whenever you see him in a problem. And if you talk about the overall economic conditions, he has explained in a detail how much Pakistan Army is contributing into exchequers, public exchequers. The problem is not, you can say, issue is not Pakistan Army on the public. They are from us. They also give...
before you talked about public exchequer, let me also state what he said. He told about a total of 360 billion rupees that are given in taxes to the government. by the army and its allied agencies. They said we have reduced our expenditures. Our defense budget has also reduced considerably between the 2 years. He talked about, he talked about the measures and all the contradictions that are appearing in social media also, saying that, oh, the army is getting X, Y, and Z facilities.
You're absolutely right. Just I mentioned that they contributed in public exchequer huge money, and you have mentioned the total amount of the money they are giving. Look, there is a propaganda that Pakistan army lives in somewhere else, in some Mars or somewhere else. They give taxes like you and me. They give electricity bill like you and me. They give every billing. I mean, if you compare with them with even you can say administrative, civil administrative structure, in some place in civil administrative structure, officers don't pay their electricity bill or their other bills because they are being given by the government. But in Pakistan army, everybody gives the same bills, same taxes what you are giving and myself is giving.
But it was, I think, Agha Sahib, it was important that this also misinformation or disinformation should be dispelled,
exactly,
and the reality be also given.
And this is a responsibility of the media to start discussions like this.
Well, I think the dgispr statement must have been discussed on the media channels as we speak, or also on our channel as we speak here right now. We're doing that. Brigadier Saab, the dgispr talks about the illegal spectrum or the crime terror nexus. I mean, both are the same things. He highlights Pakistan's army's role to curb it by cooperating with the Pakistani government. What additional measures are needed in this direction, in this sphere?
The crime terror nexus is quite clear. And again, I repeat, it runs both sides of the border. I mean, on the Pakistani side, there is a nexus across, that is on the other side also. I mean, on the other side of the western border. There are criminals both sides and the terrorists also both sides. I'm basically coming from Afghanistan or even Iran. But because so many things is linked to, the criminal activities which are taking place. And now what the basic issue is that it's the provincial governments who have to revive up their act of ensuring security, because many of these, whereas I'm not going into the details of the federal subjects and the provincial subjects, but what I'm trying to say is that as far as there is something known as border management and border areas, and they are and it's all over the world. In some parts of the world, it's not so bad, but in many parts of the world, even United States, Mexican border, they're trying to put up, there's been a debate on putting up a wall in Trump's time or doing something else and all that. So, I mean, this is not in our case, there is this terrorist element also. So, in this case, the provincial governments, that is in KPK and in Balochistan, they have to ensure through various means. And in addition, I've been saying this, that you also have to work out other aspects, because there are people living there. I mean, it's not just the criminals who are acting, but there are people, villages, there are common villages in Afghanistan, between Pakistan and Afghanistan or on the border area. And so you have to work out their economy, an alternate economy for them, because if you don't work out an alternate economy for them, some of them are going to resort to these things. It's all over the world that these border areas are prone to smuggling and, illegal trafficking and so many other things, drugs and whatnot. So what I'm trying to say is, again, I repeat, it has to be a holistic national plan for this, beside the other national plan. That is something that we need to do rethinking, and we have to revise it in today's 2024, 2025 time frame, not what was there when the Americans were there or when the Soviets were there. That is history. So we have to work out a totally new system, how we are going to manage this entire border system so that the crime terror nexus is contained and eliminated.
All right, Brigadier Saab, my next question is going to be addressed to you as well as Agha Iqrar Saab. The dgispr talks about false narratives being made vis-a-vis Balochistan on deprivation, on state brutality, and said that we needed to cut through these narratives. He talks about the false narrative regarding exploitation of resources. He said 254 billion rupees royalty has been paid to Balochistan. He highlights the false narrative of deprivation or mehroomi. He says that 750 billion rupees is Balochistan's budget. 25,000 kilometers road has been laid down in the province. 73,000 children are getting fully or partially funded education as we speak. CPEC, Gwadar, Khushhal Balochistan projects, date processing plants, and so many other projects are in process or are going on in Balochistan. He discusses the scope of social and economic progress in Balochistan and says that nobody has the right to negatively exploit these. He also talks about another false narrative of improper representation. He asks whether Balochistan's political system was any different from the political system of any other province in Pakistan. He says 17 chief ministers of Balochistan have been Baloch. He talks about prime ministers who've been Baloch. He talks about Chief Justice of Pakistan who's Baloch. He talks about bureaucrats who are Baloch. He asks then, what is the problem? I ask you, what is the problem?
Well, there are two problems. One is that as far as this false narrative and this false perception is concerned, it has been there for quite some time now. It's not which started yesterday. You know, this CPEC is based on my book, Gwadar on the Global Chessboard. So Gwadar, I made this concept. I worked for it last 20 years. Gwadar is incidentally in Balochistan, and the biggest beneficiary or the first beneficiary are the people of Balochistan. Because not just the port, but the whole network of roads and transit and trade and airport and whatnot, you know, the whole thing. And I've been saying, it's my saying that the Baloch are going to be the richest people in Pakistan as Gwadar comes underway. So why are they protesting against Gwadar? First of all, it is India and some foreign elements who don't want Gwadar to function. That is the first point. But of course, the people have some problems there. Balochistan is the biggest province of Pakistan geographically, 42, 43%, 44% of the area. And because of that, it has been deprived in the sense of infrastructure in the others, which recently, especially since CPEC, tons of work have come about and is coming about. And Balochistan's people are the biggest beneficiaries that are coming about in terms of the cadet colleges and other things. So basically, Balochistan, the effort today, or the false narrative, is geopolitical. It is basically not to let CPEC or Gwadar succeed, which I've said is the game changer for Pakistan. It's the destiny changer of Pakistan. You see the map, and anybody can understand when Gwadar comes up, like Dubai. They're talking of Dubai today. Now they're making casinos in Dubai, and they're talking of Dubai as one of the biggest cities, richest cities in the world. Well, Gwadar has more potential than Dubai. That's what I wrote in my book also. That's what I've been saying in many ways. So that's the first thing. That aim is to stop Pakistan from developing its Pakistan's future, the Balochistan and all. And as far as the background is concerned, various players. Today it's the Indians full time. Even the Indians were there before. Once upon a time, in the time of Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, in the Sardar Murray and time, it was the Soviet Union which was eyeing Balochistan, and they were instigating. Now they're not doing it. Russia is friendly to Pakistan. So now the chief actor, state actor, instigating turmoil in Balochistan is called India. That is one. And other than that, yes, there are people.
All right. Brigadier Sahib, we're a bit short of time, or else would have continued with the discussion. Thank you so very much to have joined us. I ask you the same question, but I want a very short answer, very short of time. Exploitation of resources, deprivation, and improper representation. These are three false narratives that are being propagated, and they have been highlighted by the DGISPR as well. Your take?
From your Chief Justice to your one of the former CUS, they had been Baloch. I mean, your former Prime Minister had been Baloch. But come to the point, this is very important. After 18th Amendment in 2010, health, education, security, transportation, these are in infrastructure development. They lies with the provincial government. And the federal government is giving an extraordinary 500 billion rupees to Balochistan government for the infrastructure development. So victim card is not possible to use now. This is it's expired card now. And 73,000 Baloch students, youth, they are being granted you can
funding
scholarships. Scholarships to have studied not in only Pakistan, even in international universities.
True.
So after so much development, after the 18th Amendment, this victim card is no more there.
All right. Thank you so very much, Agha, Iqrar, Haroon as well, to have joined us during the whole course of this show. It was important because it dispelled many, misunderstandings or misinformation or disinformation that had been spreading. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of this important segment, I should say, or show as far as Newsroom is concerned, as far as the DGISPR's press conference is concerned, because it highlighted many important points and it dispelled many rumors and false narratives that were also being propagated. Umar, Khalid bids you farewell. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with new stories and segments that pertain to you, us in Pakistan. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.